What up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome back to the show. This is episode 639 of the Two Dumb Yinzers. I want to say to everybody this morning, welcome back. How you doing this
Whoa.
morning, Mike?
I'm doing great. It's 2 more days till kickoff, my friend. It's Friday. We got high school football going on, and then college, and then the big day, Sunday. We got some Steelers. I can't wait. It's so close. I got a new studio behind me. I'm feeling fresh, revived, and ready to go.
You finally look like you're not in the terrorist tunnels in Gaza. Finally, I could
I
have
know.
swore you were.
I've
I could have
I'm
swore you were
hungry.
a
I've
prisoner for a while.
I escaped, and I took some loot with me on the way out.
Maybe if you would listen, you know how it would look better if you would move over like a half of an inch to your left. Just so, yeah, there you
Right
go.
here.
Because you'd be more set. Well, not yeah, right
Yeah.
centered.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
do you
yeah,
want to look like
yeah,
you're in
yeah.
an attic, or do you want me to help? Okay,
I want to look like I'm in an
no, that
attic.
looks
Well,
better. I
like,
mean,
and then I
it's
got a
more centered.
swivel
That's
for
all.
my yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. Like where my keyboard and
you
computer is,
appeared
just
to be in
different
the
spots and
God
stuff.
tunnels for months now, so this is certainly an improvement. It looks good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is episode 639. It's 639. I don't know if that's what I said, but it is 639. Good afternoon on Friday. It
Afternoon.
is Steelers game Eve. If you don't know, the Steelers will be playing 48 hours and 33 minutes from right now against the Washington Commanders. I cannot wait. It's been way too long. Good morning. My
Oh,
couple of things before we do get rolling here. We got not only is we got you mentioned we have a lot of sports going on. We have high school playoffs are back. The Steelers are back. Big college football things going on here in Pennsylvania. But I got to point out, Mike, we're only 7 days away. Next Friday, the 15th, on Netflix. That is the big Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight.
oh
I'm
yeah.
changing my tune. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Mike Tyson goes off his medicine 2 days prior to the fight. He goes in and just knocks this dude out. Um, it's not that he's not an immobile older man. He's just an older man who knows how to punch and hard, and he's training again. I'm going to take Mike Tyson right now. I'm not going to change my mind. Mike Tyson takes him down pretty
Mm.
easily in that fight next week.
I hope so. You hope he can channel some of that younger rage that he had and use that boxing acumen that he had. But he's had a lot of health issues. I don't know. I don't know if he has it in him.
You know, the one
I
thing
hope he does.
the one thing that nuts have in common, you don't lose being a nut. You're always a
That's
nut. If
true.
you're a nut, you're a nut.
Yeah.
You know, if you're strong, you could lose that. If you're built, you could lose that. But if you're a nut, at the end of the day, you're still a nut. I think that's what gets Mike Tyson through this. I think he, as I said, he neglects to take his medication prior to the fight, goes in there, handles business, and then gets back to his normal life. That's what I'm going to go with, and that's what I'm sticking with. But Mike, um, I'm going to send you something while we're talking because I do have a
Okay.
special point I want to make. Last night, if you watched the Good Morning on the board, Ernesto, nice to see you today.
Good morning.
Happy Steelers Eve. Mike, if anybody on the board or watching the show, if you watched the Steeler or I'm sorry, the Ravens game last night, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yes, I can be a conspiracy theory guy every once in a while. I admit to that. There's no shame in my game. But my question is this: how many times did the Bengals give, and I mean give, that game away? Not in the sense that they made a mistake. Well, I guess ultimately it's mistakes. But
Yeah.
Mike, they couldn't have possibly wanted to win this football game. Again, I'm going to send you a picture over right now, and then if you could just put this up, we'll talk about this one for a minute, and also a couple other things about the game last night. Mike, it was unbelievable. I wish you saw it because, all right, here it comes right now. I'm going to start with the drive. It was 35-28 at the time. It was in the third quarter last night, the Ravens Bengals football game on Thursday Night Football, and the Bengals had the ball. This was before they scored the touchdown. This was the drive prior to. They had the ball inside the 50-yard line of Baltimore. And then it was 3rd and 2 in decent field goal, in decent field position. Mike,
Yeah.
It's on 3rd and 2. The next two plays, can you guess what the Bengals did? They threw
It ran the ball.
30-yard touch. No,
Oh
they threw the
God.
ball. They should have ran the ball. They threw the ball 30 yards down the right sideline, which was incomplete.
Mhm.
And then on 4th and 2, they throw the ball 30 yards down the sideline on the left to a white dude who misses it, and they turn the ball over on downs.
That
Turn the ball over on downs. You have the ball 3rd and 2 inside their territory.
yeah.
You throw two both all over on. Luck held him on that drive. Cincinnati gets back, and after that, you're not trying to win this football game. You're not. Again, my conspiracy theories is kicking. And point after throwing 30-yard pass down play, they get the ball back. They drive all the way down. They score a touchdown. 35-34 was the score at that point. The Ravens were 35-34. Yeah. What's the Bengals do? The Bengals don't go to tie it. They go for the win. They go for a 2-point conversion. They go for the win. Mike, it was unbelievable. You're not that good of a team. Why do these bad teams always insist on trying to go for 2 to win the game over a good team? And this right here on the very play that they failed on the 2-point conversion, what you could see going on here, a lot of people in Cincinnati are saying that there may have been a face mask call. And people are saying you're nuts, conspiracy.
May have.
Well, take a look at what happened last night. This was on the 2-point conversion at the very end of the game. The Ravens are up 35-34. The Bengals just scored. Again, I don't know why they didn't kick the field goal. They go for 2. Burrow throws the ball. It ends up being, and the guy on the goal line is getting mauled.
Yeah.
But look at this. You think there's a face mask on this play that didn't get called? How do you miss this? Mike, they catch every holding on every run that breaks for more than 5 yards in the league, but they don't catch this?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
That's wild. That's insane. Three face masks. Then that's not even adding in the roughing the passer that was not called earlier in the game as well. I don't want to go on the conspiracy theory, but these officials, man, they need to be full time. They got to get a whole hell of a lot younger. Because how are you missing this stuff in the eye in the sky? That they have that reviews every single play. These should be all.
But guess what?
Don't use it for
a penalty or a non-penalty. I mean, if it's that blatant, it's stupid not to fix it.
Yeah,
you just look like an imbecile for not fixing it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and for one, it seemed like again, if you would take the last 2 series, put them together, you would say there's no way the Bengals wanted to win this football game. The way that played out, the way they unbelievable. Again, the Ravens could have fell. They could have fell to 6-4, Mike. They did not. They win this game 35-34. The first time around, these two teams ended up going to overtime. The Ravens won that game as well.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that's where this one was going. The Bengals decided to not go that route. And again, the play calling on the last 2 drives of the game are of something that JV is made of.
Yeah.
And you're not now. Granted, I'm going to give you some numbers pretty soon that's gonna make you shit, but you're not that great of a team. You have a couple really, really bright spots. Don't get me wrong. The Bengals have a couple really, really bright spots. But, Mike, they're not, these teams that just aren't that good, they do this. They get to the end of the game, they'll try a 2-point conversion, and they never get it. And then again, the play calling on the prior drive where Burrow throws the ball 30 yards downfield on 2 consecutive plays on 3rd and 2 and on 4th and 2. And again, you can't convince me that you were trying to win that football game.
Yeah, and that throwing the ball back to back, that reminds me of what they did in the Super Bowl. You have, then they had Joe Mixon. They didn't run it. I forget who the running back is now, but you should be able to run the ball and gain 2 yards in the NFL. And this Baltimore defense is not good.
Mike,
should have been able to run the ball.
Soft as baby shit. I was very surprised.
You should have been able to run right up through there. So it made no sense.
And that's another thing I was going to point out. This Baltimore team did not look like they were one of the best teams in the league. Again, the Bengals did have the advantage of being a division team. You know them. You know them a lot more than anybody else. So you're going to play them a lot better than anybody else. It was something that Hollywood is made of, the way that this game went. Let me give you some numbers to give you some ideas. Just maybe the Bengals should have won because their wide receiver one gets 11 catches, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This is Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
264 yards, 3 touchdowns. You don't get much better than this. Come on, that's almost 300 yards receiving.
No. Yeah.
The quarterback, Joe Burrow, he throws the ball for 56 times for 428 yards, 4 touchdowns. Their running back, he only ran for 42 yards. But I'm looking down these numbers. This Ravens team, they just, again, Mike, this wasn't a team. You always see these power polls. They have the Ravens in the 1 spot or the 2 spot, just depending on what's going on that week. That defense is nowhere what a Ravens defense usually is like.
Oh, no.
And the Ravens offense wasn't even that impressive. Again, I don't know what the Bengals defense is doing this year, but they made the Ravens offense look average. They were up 21-7. The Bengals were at one point, and then they fumbled the ball away. What did they do? They lost the ball somehow. And then Baltimore went up 28-7 eventually if they would have scored. Baltimore gets the ball back, scores, gets it within 1 touchdown. Then it becomes a game. Baltimore, there was so many mistakes made in this game by the Bengals. I'm wondering, I mean, is this why they're that bad, or is it because again, why do they do these things? Why do they go for 2 at the end of the game, tie, go to overtime, you get a fresh start, you get another opportunity if the other team doesn't score a touchdown. So many things. What goes into this decision, Mike?
I had no problem with them going for 2. Baltimore scored touchdowns on 4 straight drives. If you don't win that coin toss, Baltimore does. At that point, game's going to probably be over. And the way Baltimore was moving up and down the field on them, so I had no problem going for 2. Get the win right there if you can make that play. And I'd rather go for 2 there, go for the win, and instead of taking my chances in overtime, because you don't know if your defense is going to be able to stop them if you don't get the ball, and if you get stopped, get the field goal. They know what they need to do, so it's
the first half.
Go for the win. But Zach Taylor makes some very stupid mistakes again. Like you said, we're going to throw the ball deep twice when we only need 2 yards.
2 yards.
2 yards.
And especially on 4th down. After you already just did it on 3rd down, they did it again on 4th down, and not even a Jamar Chase. It was a white guy. Come on, now listen.
Yeah. And that's just bad coaching.
It is bad coaching, Mike. Derrick Henry only ran for 68 yards. Again, this Baltimore team looked very beatable. The first half of the game, the Bengals, again, it didn't even look like the Ravens wanted to play. They get this little thing back where they score 3 touchdowns in a row. I don't know. NFL games tend to do this for whatever reason, to get games close at the end. Anyway, that's a different story for a different day. But very, very dumb decisions by the coach, Mike. I almost unbelievable. But it makes you think after watching this game. Cincinnati, I'm sorry, is a little bit better than we thought they were. And I think Baltimore is a little bit not as good as we thought they were, because I thought that Cincinnati certainly had a chance to win this game. And also I certainly thought that Baltimore was totally beatable about 90% of this game.
Yeah. That Bengals offense they're no joke. They're a good offense, but their defense is their weak point. And we saw in this game too, if Baltimore's defense needs to make a stop, they really can't do it. So they're susceptible as well down the stretch. But I don't know. They tend to play better outside the division. But what we see when it happens to them when they get into the playoffs, they can't get it done. So they're really starting to not scare me as much as they were at the beginning of the year, and the way our offense is playing. Ryan the Greek, Jimmy the Greek over here, his long lost cousin.
Yeah, I just like I don't
get what they're doing. It's very, very bad decision making. It just shows. We talk about all the time. Like, there's very few excellent quarterbacks, that top tier quarterbacks, and these. Zach Taylor's proving there's very few quality top tier NFL coaches. A lot of these guys are just winging it as they go.
Listen, I don't want to talk about the Ravens all show because, we have the Commanders this weekend, and we got all next week to talk about Baltimore. Yep. But let me just give you a couple more numbers that I think you'll be entertained by, and then we'll move on. I promise. All right.
Okay.
All right, let's talk Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson, he is had his first game with the Baltimore Ravens yesterday. He was targeted 2 times. The first time he fell. He fell and the ball just went sailing by because Deontay fell on his route.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was they were trying to move the ball the end of the half. They throw the ball to Deontay. His job was to catch the ball and get out of bounds, which he's very good at, catching the ball and running out of bounds. So Deontay Johnson catches the ball, makes it 6 yards, and gets tackled in bounds, and the clock continues to run. Time runs out, nobody scores, and that was the way that went. Surprised? No, I'm not surprised at all. I'm going to be honest with you. It's consistent with what I've seen from Deontay his whole career here. So between falling down on his first route, on his second route, totally effing everything up. I mean, come on. Mike had 1 catch for 6 yards.
Oh,
in a game where the offense pretty much, I mean,
yeah,
Lamar had 4 touchdowns thrown. Gives you an idea. So Deontay Johnson is doing as well as everybody thought that he would be doing. I think this is going to be a blast. Next week is going to be a lot of shit talking, guaranteed. We have Patrick Queen. They have Deontay Johnson. There's going to be a lot of what do they call chalkboard material.
Bulletin board material.
Bulletin board material going into next week's game. But that is where, Mike, unless you have anything else, I'm going to drop the Ravens right now because besides for the uniforms, I mean, there's nothing else I really have to say about them. They had these Crown Royal bags on that they were wearing, these alternative helmets. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I got distracted by Mark Malone's couple of his comments. Perfect place for Clank Johnson in the Gavins. Of all the things I've heard the Ravens called, I've never heard the Gavins.
I just literally said the Gavins last night. Oh, that was to somebody else. I was actually.
Yeah, it wasn't to me. It wasn't to me.
So that it.
Can you talk to other people besides me? I'm hurt.
Don't even start with me. But anyway, but they did that. Ravens look soft, guys. The Ravens did look soft. Let me get to some of these comments, Mike. I'm starting to get behind on the board a little bit, but we do have a lot of Steeler talk today, getting ready for the big game against the Washington Commanders on Sunday. I'm going to start all the way back with Brian. Brian says analytics say to go for it, 2 on the road. It's so stupid that the coaches listen to the nerds saying to go for 2. I couldn't agree more. That this note they have or whatever it is, this what is it? Analytics. Don't listen to analytics. You got to go with your heart during a football game sometime. Or sometimes you have to go with what you know is right instead of looking at a piece of paper and being told that this is right, because obviously it wasn't right.
Also, if it works, it's right, though.
Right, and it didn't. It failed miserably.
If it fails, so therefore it's wrong.
Also, Brian said, also Jaden Daniels constantly rolls out to the area of TJ Watt, where TJ rolls up the field. If Daniels doesn't step up in the pocket, he could get sacked 5 times by Watt tomorrow or Sunday. John says New York City, they should override every play. I would rather the game be 30 minutes. I would too. Matter of fact, it's more football for me. For 2, it's the results are correct. Nobody's screwed, and the right thing happens. How is that bad? Mike, I see you huffing. What do you?
No. Like with like the ticky tack cold calls. Yeah, but like
that's always what gets called.
I want to see like the big stuff. Let's do it. Like I want the bigger, like the big penalties called.
Do you think getting face masked 3 times on one play in one particular shot?
Time. Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
That should have been called big time.
Brian says, Ryan, please don't make Mike shit. I don't know how I do that, but I'll try my best.
Also, sprinkles somewhere.
Also, John says Burrow's an example that W's and L's aren't a QB stat. I mean, you're right. In some cases, I would agree 100% with that. Mark Malone says, to the hell with the Gavins. Also, Mark says Baltimore's the perfect place for Clank Johnson. Ernesto Ortega, new on the board. Again, how you doing? And welcome. He says Steelers are licking their chops with the additions we are getting back during our bye. Plus, what we did during the trade deadline. Absolutely. I'll get back to that in 1 second, Ernesto. And then Mark says Baltimore is soft. I've heard Lamar gets hard when he goes under center. I was surprised about how soft they were. I'm used to seeing the Ravens be a little tougher. They weren't tough. They didn't look tough. They weren't that defense just certainly doesn't scare you. And again, the offense is just so inconsistent. It's the quarterback when he's great, he's great, but when he's not, he's not.
Yeah.
It comes down to when Lamar finding himself and what he's going to be able to do that day is what the Ravens usually do. Getting back to what Ernesto said, I agree 100%, Ernesto. Not only the Steelers, the fans, everybody is chomping at the bit. We want to
Mhm.
see these new guys. I want to see Mike Williams. I want to see our new wide receiver too. I want to see Preston Smith. I want to see the guys that are getting healthy. Zach Frazier coming back healthy if he's going to be able to play.
Huge.
I mean, it's exciting, and it couldn't be for a bigger game, Ernesto. And also, what I was telling Mike yesterday, you generally don't prep for NFC teams the way you prep for teams within your conference or especially within your division because you see them once every 4 years. So when you play an NFC team, it's pretty vanilla throughout the week. You practice, you prepare, you watch tape, and then you head out and play. This particular game, which I think is important because I mean, of course, they're 7-2, we're 6-2, but we had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They played last week. They played the team that we played the week prior, which is even better because now you could play comparison a little bit within the Giants. And the thing is, Mike, now you have time because you had that 2 weeks off, not only to get healthy, not only to benefit at the trade deadline, but to really study this NFC team where you otherwise normally wouldn't have that on a 3.5-day practice week. Now you have the extra time. You can watch extra film, extra prep, extra game plan. You sit back, watch the game real time at home, maybe on Sunday. So a lot of things I think work to the Steelers' advantage this bye week. I think it couldn't have came at a better time. Halfway through the season, we just finished the first half 6-2. Again, getting players back healthy. Again, bringing people in over via trade, and again having 2 whole weeks to prep and watch this team. I really feel confident about this game, guys. I just do. And at the end of the day, you might say Jaden Daniels, yeah, well, he's really good, and they got McLaurin and this guy. But you know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers aren't much to laugh at. We got a pretty good team, guys.
Oh
Top to
yeah.
bottom. I mean, there's some areas that you know what you feel that they can improve. Certainly, who doesn't? Chiefs, you can. The Chiefs also can improve in certain areas. But at the end of the day, Mike, top to bottom, I don't know if there's a team that has much more depth than we have.
I
We're
You know what?
we have
Out,
depth at every position
yeah,
almost.
yeah. Outside of maybe like D tackle, yeah, we are deep. We got if a guy would go down for a game or two, I'm comfortable with people stepping in and playing. And when's the last time you've been able to say that about a Steelers team? And like,
Right.
and at like our key
And
positions
it's
that
all working together at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah. It's like we have like starter capable depth at corner now that Sutton's back. We got definitely starter capable backups at inside backer and outside backer. We found out we have starter capable depth on the line where everyone
I
was
guess.
ridiculing all these guys and Pat Myers, and I haven't heard anyone say, "Oh, you know what? Maybe we were wrong about this guy and his coaching ability," because Ryan McCollum was balling out. So he's good for a few games. So yeah, we got depth there, and yeah, like you said, the addition of Mike Williams now receiver depth is so much better to where okay, you're not worried about okay, we don't have Roman Wilson. What's the depth going to be? Okay, now we got guys depth. People are slotting into where they need to be. We have 2 quarterbacks. I don't. I'm more confident in Russ than Justin, but I think Justin can come in, find ways to win. But yeah, we have depth, and who can forget Najee Harris and Jalen Warren? You got 2 starters right there, so that's kind of rare in today's NFL with the salary cap having capable starters in backup roles.
And you can just keep going down the list. We have 4 tight ends. We have 2 capable running backs. We have 2 starting quarterbacks and a third that's a real backup quarterback. You go to the defensive side of the ball. Our linebacker room is deep as deep can be from the inside to the outside. Our secondary, bringing Sutton coming back from the suspension, Corey Trice coming back here within a couple
Yeah,
weeks. The defensive backs is getting really thick. As you mentioned, Mike, yes, the offensive line and the defensive line, I think that is where we lack in depth, which usually it's very important, and it still is, don't get me wrong. But
yeah.
the way these guys were able to come through on this offensive line, Mike, and do what they did, it seems like the more people they're getting rid of and bringing in more misfits, the better they
It's
get.
better. It's
We
better.
got 2 rookies starting. We got Dan Moore. 2 years ago, we were ready to
All
Dan
pro,
Moore to get the hell out of
all
town.
pro Dan Moore. I'm calling it right now. My man's going to the Pro Bowl.
We was ready for Dan Moore to be gone, along with Kendrick Green. Get the hell out of here. But look what happened, Mike. This group of misfits on the front line, I think, has to have you as confident as anything else that we have at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They've again, if it happened once, if they had a good game twice, maybe a couple weeks, a month, Mike, we played a half a season already,
Yeah.
and the offensive line is pretty good. And I got to say, you play 9 more games, you make it to the playoffs. I think this group of misfits gets a whole year's worth of experience under their belt.
Uh-huh.
You might say, well, they're going to be beat up. There's nobody that's not beat up in January. Mike, I like the way this team's looking. And I think winning in this game against Washington on Sunday could go such a long way, going 7-2, going into that last 8 games. You got 4 Ohio games. Your 3 games, your 4 games are concerns, obviously, for fans. Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles. I think we go 2-2, 3-1 in them because, again, we're not a bad team. If we were a bad team playing bad football, we are now looking like a team like that is a good football team. I think we have a great shot for this stretch, and I think that this team can win some games in the playoffs.
Me too. Like, what's the record? 13-4 coming out of the bye. So this team should be well prepared, ready to go, and we can talk about coaching too. That the second half adjustment, still 0 points scored
Yes.
in the third quarter, and you keep that trend going alive. That's if you start out slow, you keep it close. They're flipping the games in that third quarter. And
Mike,
that's
can I
when they're
juice it
making
up
their
just a little
comeback.
bit for, and you can continue? Can I juice that
Yeah,
up
yeah,
just a little bit more for you?
yeah,
In the second half, we know that they're killing in the third quarters. In the second half of games, we're letting up 5.6 points in the second half of every game that we play
yeah,
this year, ahead of the Broncos and the Bills, who are number 2 and 3, but they are both tied with a 7.2 point percentage that they're letting up in the second
yeah,
half. Like 5.6 points
yeah.
a half every second half this season is what they're averaging.
That is otherworldly what they're doing, and oh god, I lost my thought. But no, like 007 saying, Washington's wins are against only 2 teams above 500. That shoots. That's how like we saw what was it Miami 2 years ago, and everyone thought, oh my god, they're going to steamroll into the playoffs. But every time they played a team with a winning record, they end up losing. And
Yeah.
hopefully the Commanders are the same way. And yeah, I think this team is geared up. The Steelers team is geared up for a second half run. It's going to be a whole hell of a lot tougher than the first half, but I think this team has already been battle tested. Like you said, we've gone through the injuries. We've dealt with adversity, didn't blink, had that little mini losing streak, and they regrouped, rebounded. And what you're noticing about this team and this coaching staff, no one is panicking. There's no
Right.
little infighting. You're not hearing anything from the media, and I think this team is locked in that we haven't seen in a long ass time, and that can be a scary team down the stretch.
And you might say, you know what, the first half, the teams weren't anywhere as good as the teams in the second half. Where I think this is the next natural step that you take. You play the first half of the season, the teams were what they were. They weren't terrible. You have teams that are sitting in playoff spots right now that we played. I think the next natural step would be playing teams that are a little better. And that's what this next 8 to 9 games is going to be. That's going to be the third natural step is the playoffs. Now you're playing the best football that you've played all year. Teams are coming in. It's playoffs. It's one or done. So I think, Mike, that we're right on pace. I really do
Mm-hmm.
think that that we are on pace to have a good
Yeah.
season. And again, Mike, the way that nobody's running away with things this year, especially in the AFC. Again, the NFC, I think, is being driven by Detroit. But you know what? Even though they are undefeated, Kansas City leaves a lot to be desired. And
Yeah, they
even
do.
Buffalo, that's who I don't want to play just because we do have such a bad,
Yeah.
history for the past couple years. If somebody else could beat them, I think we can make a nice little run. Call me crazy, but I think we can make a nice little run in January.
I think we can too. I think we can win at least two games in the playoffs. If everyone, the progressions of where we're seeing happening with the offense happens, our offense could be one of the better ones in the NFL. Like at least a top 5 scoring offense. Defense. Now that we got guys back healthy, I think we're going to start seeing the run defense improve. We're going to see the passing defense improve, and if that happens, we can get hot at the right time. But we see this all the time in sports. You get hot at the right time, you're a dangerous ball club, and I like I like the way this team is built and constructed. I think Omar Khan did a great job in the offseason and at trade deadline, bolstering positions of need. And I love the way the coaches have everyone bought into everything. You know,
All the way to
the,
special teams, Mike. All the way to
exactly. So, like I have
that's
never
why
seen
I'm
I've never seen a special teams unit bought in like I'm seeing a special teams unit this year, and and you're seeing it on all the other units too. It's just this. I hate to say, but it feels like this could be like a magical season for the
I
Steelers.
know.
I'm probably setting myself up to be disappointed, but I
Hey,
haven't
look at
felt
it
this
this
good
way.
in a long time about a team. I'm allowed to
Who else
fanboy
would
every
be
once in a
more of a
while.
Cinderella team? Let's say
Than us,
Washington. Let's say Washington gets in. Maybe them if they get to the Super
yeah.
Bowl. The Lions possibly. You know what? This has a Cinderella feel to it. Maybe one year they could, not let the Kansas City Chiefs win and let somebody else do it. And if that happens, I think that we could very
Yeah.
well be the team, Mike. Let me get back to some of these messages on the board. John says Derpy is either at a AA meeting or seeing his parole officer. I think Derpy might be protesting somewhere after the election. I don't know. I don't know where he is politically, but I could see him somewhere with a flag or with a
I can
sign
see
marching
Derpy
around town.
showing up to both, walking
Yeah,
across the street to both.
right, right. Also, John says, what does John say? John says a commander's win will show a real pattern. Uh, Finch, I'm sorry, says commanders are poop. Steelers by 14. I like that. 007, hey man, nice to see you again. How you doing? He says out of the 7 Washington wins, only 2 are against 5 over teams over 500. You guys just touched on that.
Yeah, yep.
Brian says I have a lot of energy. And then John says my theory is the hot chick at the coffee shop gave Ryan a poppy seed muffin. I wish she would have. Unfortunately, I don't know. I didn't even feel energized before the game. I thought it was gonna be a dragger for me. But sometimes you click the button and it's there,
Oh,
guys. But Mike, let me dive into a couple of things here real quick.
yeah.
For one, I think these rookies are going to want to prove themselves. And I mentioned this before. I think, especially when you're showing up on a Pittsburgh Steeler team, a team that has a lot of history, they know that there's fans everywhere around the world in masses. They're going to want to really prove themselves. Mike Williams, especially at this point in his career, it can't hurt him to go out and really play great and have,
Yeah.
great production. And then the same with Preston Smith. Let me give you this nugget, Mike. Preston Smith was drafted in 2015. Since then, he has 68 and a half sacks. Okay, that's pretty good, right? Yes, it's tied for 13th in that
No
period.
way.
Guess who it's
Wow.
tied with? Cam Hayward.
No way.
What's the chances of that? But
Wow.
yes, since he was drafted in 2015, our new addition on the
Yeah.
defensive linebacker core, Mike, 68 and a half sacks, tied 13th in that period of time, tied with Cam Hayward. So
That's nuts. I didn't know that, and I know like just scrolling through Twitter, man. The excuse me, Packers fans were like kind of upset that he was traded away. Like they were like, this guy's been a damn good player for ever since he came here. So
I hear
like
nothing
that,
but good things about him.
yeah, yeah. So when you're hearing that, and you're also hearing teams from the inside that division saying, "Oh God, I'm glad this guy's gone now." That's how you got someone good. And excuse me, he's going to want to ball out because his contract, he has 2 more years left on it, but they're voidable years. So he's going to want to prove not maybe to the Steelers, but a handful of other teams that run the 3-4 out there, like, hey, I still have it in me, and playing for that contract. I like having these guys on the contract year, and like Mike Tomlin said in his press conference the other day, like these are guys who have legit NFL resumes. So
Absolutely.
you're not you're kind of you're always worried adding that new piece, how they're going to fit in the team, how they're going to fit in the locker room, but you don't have to worry about you're a little more comfortable putting them out there right away because like you said, like he said, they have that resume of being able to produce and play. So you just can go ahead and throw those guys out there. They might have a limited snap count until they learn everything in the playbook, but you can just throw those guys out there. Hey, Preston, go hit the quarterback. Hey, set the edge. Mike, go run a 15-yard out. You can just tell those guys those things. They have that body of knowledge. They have that experience, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Mike, also let me blow a little bit more smoke up this team's ass. On let me find where I was at here. The Steelers held their opponents scoreless in 14 quarters this season. 14 quarters.
Wow.
The Steelers' opponents did not score. That is second in the NFL.
Wow.
In the article I read, it didn't give me the first team, but nonetheless, we are the second team in the NFL in that category. Only one team has held teams to less score or more scoreless quarters
Yeah.
than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Uh, Come on, this is a pretty good team, and as much as money that we put into this defense, it should be a good team, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. The amount of money into that defense, they should be near the top in those type of categories, and that's why this offense is a pleasant surprise to me because there's not a lot of money on that offense.
Speaking of
Um,
pleasant surprise, good afternoon to Phil the Steel. How you doing today?
oh
Phil the
yeah,
Steel says TJ Watt, baby. I'm sorry, go ahead. I just
no,
thought
no, no, no,
that might
no,
have been
no.
necessary.
But you know when a celebrity comes in, man,
That's right, baby.
you have to pay the respect. I forget where it's going. Oh yeah, yeah. That's why the offense to me is a pleasant surprise. You know, going into next year, Pat Frymus, I think, is the highest paid offensive player. Finally, a skill position. I think now on the roster this year, like the highest paid were James Daniels and Isaac Sayamalo. Your guards were your highest paid offensive weapons. So you would expect the offense to struggle. But now, you know, Russ is in there. He's cooking. Najee's cooking. So we're getting a lot of bang for our buck, literally, on that offense.
What
And
a
the
smart
defense is
guy
now
Omar
starting
Khan
to come
is.
back. Oh,
He,
for
you know,
for a while there, I was getting ready to criticize him and jump
I
on him,
was
but
never a
here's
fan
the
of
thing.
GMs, but this guy, come on, he's doing just as much to make this team good as
Yeah,
the coaches, as the players. As
yeah.
you got to love what is going on with this team, Mike. And I just want to throw out there real quick between two different charts I'm looking at. One has the Steelers at a 91.3% chance to make the playoffs, and the other one has them at a 90.2% chance to make the playoffs.
Well,
Again, we're on a pretty good run this year so
we
far.
are in a good run. P, thank you for the kind
P,
words.
What's P got going on, man? P, good
He's
afternoon, sir. The live audience on YouTube since I first started. Keep it up. Hey, man, we appreciate that. Hey, you know
yeah,
what? We couldn't do without you, P. You are um,
he's
part of the
the
foundation.
first. Yeah, he was like the first to
Absolutely.
pop in the live. Yeah,
You
but
helped us along the way big time. Thank you, sir.
I don't know if the Cubs do catch Derpy. I'm not bailing them out,
Yeah, neither am I. Matter
but
of fact,
he could do the
I'll
show
go to the
from jail.
jailhouse. Yeah, I'll go to stare at him, and then I'll leave.
I'm
Um,
sure. I'm sure he can get a phone plan in there or something. We can figure it out.
Couple more things, Mike, because we do have some stuff we got to get into. We have over and unders, we have the injury report, keys to winning, things like that before the show is over. So let me get to a couple more stories here. The Washington Commanders do not, I repeat, they do not want to have their stadium filled with terrible towels like every other stadium does.
Oh yeah,
They said we don't want to be overtaken, so they invested money and they made their own little maroon bath towels that they have. They're all going to be waving these maroon towels. I can't imagine where they came up with this idea, but they will be doing that Sunday. So if you see these annoying maroon towels, that's what's going on because they don't want the Steelers
yeah.
to overtake their stadium.
And you know, I read. I don't know if it's true, but they're going to have cues on there so they know when to start
Yeah,
twirling their
because they don't know how to
towel.
twirl a
Yeah,
towel.
like I saw Steeler fans. They were like, yeah, we don't need to be told. You just know. You
You
just
just know,
know. You just
absolutely,
know
it's in
when the
your blood.
time when you just start. It's time to wave the towel. The defense is not playing well. You get up, you wave that towel.
It's a feeling in your stomach,
Yeah, you
like
just
like
know.
like when you right before you're about to climb the rope in gym class.
Yeah.
It's that feeling.
And like our towel is not a corporate greed driven thing. It's a charity driven thing, and we all own multiples.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I don't know anybody that only owns one or less terrible towels. Certainly not in the area. Um, Also, Mike, some big news. Fox NFL awarded TJ Watt the 2024 midseason awards Defensive Player of the Year. I knew that would be good.
It's perfect timing.
That would be good news for Field of Steel. I knew that you would enjoy that, so I waited. I especially waited for you to be here to give that information out. But it is true. Fox NFL awarded TJ Watt the 2024 midseason awards Defensive Player of the Year. Also, Mike Tomlin. I can't remember who it was, but he was also given a midseason possibility for Coach of the Year. He may be
Oh
a
wow.
Coach of the Year candidate, and at the midseason he is at that point. So that is
And
also big news.
I think he should be in the conversation this year.
From what
For
I
what we've
agree.
had to now, yeah, this team's gotten better.
Let's see. Ernesto says no chances they overtake our tie. I agree, Ernesto. How silly of them. Also, feel the steal before it happens and he gets crapped on, fellas. If you don't, okay, hold on. I'm trying to catch up with Phil
Sorry.
because I don't want to miss anything now because we got a couple people in the house. No, let me see. So before it happens and he gets crapped on, fellas. If you don't watch much on Sunday, I don't know why. Also, P says Derpy doing non-bail crimes. If he's doing crimes, he seems like a go-getter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he might be doing felonies.
Derpy the go-getter. It's I'm not even gonna get into that right now. But anyway, Ernesto, okay, the Tiles. Brian says next they'll play Renegade in the fourth quarter. Brian also says TJ will not win the playoff defensive player of the year. That's for sure. And P also says, why did the gym teachers in the 90s never teach us how to properly climb a rope? We didn't have YouTube. There's nothing more that a gym teacher likes to watch a child in his shorts struggle climbing in the rope. I don't know why, but it just seems to always play out that way.
Is that a thing? Because we never had to do that in any of the gym classes I had.
No, but I watch TV. It happens somewhere, right?
It had to have.
On the Wonder Years, I remember them. They had Paul and
Yeah.
and Arnold, or whatever the hell their names were. I remember them climbing the ropes. But 007 says Tyler Mike, say his name. Matakavich.
Matakavich.
Zach Frazier, Cordell Patterson, all coming back from injuries, and Nick Herbig will be back soon.
Yeah.
Also, Corey Trice, Mike. That's a name that gets overlooked a lot, and I think Corey Trice is could be a big part of that secondary.
He's someone that they desperately want to be able to stay healthy, because you can see he has that potential, and it's just, man, my man is just snake bitten with injuries. You hate this Matakavich. Yeah, because I think I don't know if Herbert's going to play this week or not, being limited in practice.
I'll get Matakavich's name when we get rid of him. I guarantee it. I'll struggle with it until he's gone.
Yeah, it's only his second go around with the club. You think he'd have it figured out by now?
Well, I didn't think he would come back. A guy named
Adam
Matakavich.
Me too. I was never a big fan of Matakavich, but good special teams player.
Yeah, all right. I'll take your word.
I'm just not a big Matakavich fan.
And finally, Mike, before we do get into more stuff here, Russell Wilson, here in our area in Beaver County, there is a high school football player who collapsed on the field a couple weeks back and went to the hospital, was unconscious and hospitalized for a long time. He came out just yesterday. Russell Wilson, that's right, Russell Wilson, our quarterback, paid a visit to this young man to help him in spirits. The kid is getting better, Mike. Nice. He is good. Well on his way to recovery from Rochester High School.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson made the trek over there the other day to visit him. And Mike, is Russell Wilson maybe one of the best PR guys that the Steelers had?
Oh, yeah.
In a while.
This is what, like, Cam Hayward wishes he could be this good with the media and stuff, like the way Russ is. And Russ he's done it everywhere he's gone in his career too. So you like to see it, and you like to see that he's continuing to do that. He does it even if the Steelers win or lose. I like to see that. It's just some good stuff like there. It sounds like a good human being.
I was kind of skeptical with this Russell Wilson at first. But he's growing on me, man, like a fungus. But he's growing on me, you know.
He is too. Like when he was with, Seattle and the Broncos. Like, this corny mofo, get him out of here. Now he's our corny mofo.
Yeah, so, right.
I'm like it because he's our corny guy.
Right. You know what? He keeps throwing up them touchdowns and things like this. Right? I'm in, man.
Normally, I like my football players a bit crazy, but psycho. But Cornball Russ is getting it done. I'll take it.
Cornball Russ certainly is getting it done. Mike, let me hit some of this. This was as of yesterday's practices for both the Steelers and the Commanders. Justin Fields, again, back to full practice. Terrell Edmonds still he was not at practice with his illness. Matakavich, hamstring, full practice. Nick Herbig, as you mentioned, Mike, limited. Zach Frazier, full with the ankle. Isaac Siamalu taking another day off for his veteran resting. Also, Michael Pruitt did not practice with his knee. Cordell Patterson, a full practice with his ankle. And Cam Hayward taking his day off that he takes off every week for resting. And then for the Washington Commanders, Marshawn Lattimore did not practice yesterday. That's a good sign for
That's a
us.
good sign for us. Yep.
He didn't practice on Thursday. Also, Mike, a lot of these same names that were on that I read through yesterday that
Yeah.
some are recognizable, some of them aren't. But you mentioned the center Tyler Blazdaz and a lot of these
Biasta.
guys. They have a lot of guys that will not be playing. There are a few guys that were limited, but again, Mike, no, none of the recognizable names, no skill position players. Center and Marshawn Lattimore, certainly two
Yeah.
bigger names.
It looks like a Brian Robinson. They're pretty good running back. He's limited as well. That they didn't have a good run game last week without him. So if he doesn't play, if Tyler Biasta doesn't play, I'll take that.
Absolutely. So that is the Mike. That is the injury report. Also, before we do get started on these over and unders, what's your keys?
Hold on, real quick. Derpy's holding a sign in protest, not for political purposes, but for TJ Watt.
That sounds right, Mike. Why don't you give us some keys to this game to winning against the Washington Commanders?
Keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket. You the his ability to scramble to extend the plays. We saw it on the game-winning Hail Mary was insane. You get your hands on him, you got to bring this guy down. Don't let him escape the pocket. He's magical once he gets in the open field. Shut down Terry McLaurin. Lock him up, lock him down, force them to try and be that one-dimensional team. Stay and the defense needs to stay disciplined. And no, I'm not talking penalties. I'm talking staying in your lanes, playing, contained defense. Because I've been watching some videos of this Commanders team, and it's like a college offense. Sometimes you don't know where the ball's going. Guys are constantly going in and out of motion. Fake handoff here, fake handoff there, and then a third handoff comes. They played some tricky football,
You got to
misdirection
be
football,
disciplined.
just
You got to.
disciplined, stay in your lanes, and they probably saw it too. The way we would overrun plays against the Giants because this team loves to rally to the ball, and that's the Giants were able to cut back. You do this against this team, Redskin team. They're not the best running team. My God, they will kill you if you let that happen. In offense, ball control, and don't waste trips to the red zone with stupid penalties.
I think that's a given. For whatever reason, that seems to be trending this year, not only in Pittsburgh, with a lot of teams. Let me catch up on a couple of these, Mike, and then we're going to jump into the
Yep, yep.
over or unders. I'm going to start with Phil the Steel. Phil the Steel says TJ Watt, TJ Watt, TJ Watt, TJ Watt. John says Russ knows how to work the beaver. All right.
Yeah.
He does. So far, so good. Phil the Steel also says, hey, fellas, yeah, Derpy is holding a sign for and protesting, but not for political purposes. I can see that. That is certainly something that Derpy would do. John said accurate. He was saying that while you were talking about the game, the plans to win the game, the keys to win. Brian says to JV, Phil, missed my positive Watt post. My positive Watt post earlier in the feed.
There we go. I'll post it up here so everyone can see it again. There we go. I aim to please, boys.
Mike, read it aloud so people know.
Jaden Daniels constantly rolls out to the area. Watt rushes upfield. If Daniels doesn't step up in the pocket, he'll get sacked 5 times by Watt.
Do I see some kinship between these two, Mike? It's like there's
a
rivalry.
There's a budding friendship there.
Yeah, maybe a budding friendship.
It's like a bonsai tree. We're going to be very careful and delicate with this friendship that's forming between these two.
It could just go off the wire at any moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because look how Brian's being nice now.
Yeah.
But he's still calling him JV Phil. So I don't know what to expect.
JV Phil and Watt hater. If I could change people's names on the chat, I would do that. It'd be so funny.
But that is, like I said, that's a recipe for disaster with these two, but I love it. And then P also says, why does that kid on the right, the lady in Mike's, that's us.
That's us.
That's the picture you see over Mike's right shoulder.
That's right.
He's the little bald kid on the right there.
I'm the cute little baby.
And I'm the girl with the in the dress with the beard. That's me when my beard was dark.
And that's the original co-host.
That's the original. Yeah, she was originally part of the show with us and still involved in some capacity, but that was made very, very early on. Early on. But Mike is the little bald kid.
Yeah.
And I'm the bearded woman. Also, Mike, I'll take one more here. How do feel about Terrell Austin choosing not to blitz that much? I would like to see it mixed in a little bit more as well. I don't say go all in, but I would like to see more blitzes. But again, this kind of team that you're playing this week with their kind of offense, I think that you have to certainly be disciplined and stay home a lot of times because you're going to get a lot of different looks, and there's a lot of talent on this offense.
Yeah, like we do get the good pressure from the front four, but I would like to see every once in a while dial up a 5-6 man blitz.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, let's get into the overs and unders for the game. Here we go. Over or under? Oh, Phil is still. I gotta touch this, Mike. Phil still says he at mommy didn't let me play football. Calls me JV Phil. And P says, "Wow, she's talented." Let's get into the over or under. Russell Wilson, guys. Russell Wilson, 1.5 touchdowns passes in this game with the Washington Commanders. Mike, over or under? Russell Wilson touchdown pass, 1.5.
I am taking the over. I am taking the over.
George Pickens, a half a touchdown. George, does he get on the board via touchdown? Okay.
Over.
Najee Harris, does he continue his streak? He has 3 100-yard games going. Mike, 100 yards for Najee, over or under?
Oh, I am taking the over big time in this game on the rushing.
Okay. Najee Harris, one more, a half a touchdown. On the ground, through the air, Najee Harris, a half a touchdown, over or under?
I'm taking the over.
All right. You're feeling good about this game, huh?
I am.
I had rightfully so. I
had 21-14, I think was my prediction yesterday, somewhere along those lines. Commanders victory. But as the game gets closer, I get more and more confident with the offense.
All right. Pat Fryermuth, Mike, 3.5 catches. 3.5 catches for Muth.
Ooh.
Muth. Under, over, or under?
I'm going to go under.
Okay. Mike Williams, our new addition to the offense, our new wide receiver 2. 2.5 catches for Mike Williams. Mike, 2.5 catches, over or under for Mike Williams?
I'm taking the over. I'm going to put a number on it. I'm going to say 5.
Okay. Offensive turnovers, Mike. Do we turn the ball over? The number is 1.5. Over or under? Does this offense turn the ball over more or less than 1.5 times on Sunday?
I'm taking the under.
All right. Over to the defense. Does the defense, do they cause 1.5 turnovers in this game? Over or under? Our defense.
I'm taking the over.
Okay. TJ Watt, a half sack, Mike. Does he have a sack this game or no?
Taking the over. I'm saying he will have 1.5 sacks.
Okay. Alex Highsmith, same thing. Does he have a half sack, more or less? Does he get a sack or no?
I'm saying he will have 2.5. I'm taking.
He's been on fire lately.
Yeah, he's coming back. He's a man on a mission.
After his injury, I agree. Mike, Preston Wilson, our other new addition. Preston Smith, I'm sorry.
Preston Wilson.
A half sack, Mike, for Preston Smith. Over or under?
I'm going to go under, but he will be impactful.
Okay. And finally, Mike, as far as sacks go, Cam Hayward. A half a sack for Cam. Over or under?
I'm going push. He's going to fall on someone for a half a sack.
I could see that 100%. Mike, special teams, a big special teams play, punt block, punt return for a touchdown, field goal block, etc., etc., etc. 1/2, Mike, big play by the special teams, Danny Smith's boys, over or under? 1/2 of a big play by the special teams.
You give that madman 2 weeks to prepare. Danny Smith's boys they're gonna pull something out.
That's a lot of gum in 2 weeks.
I'm gonna put it down. It's gonna be a trick play that we pull off.
All right. A couple more, Mike. The Chris Boswell, 2.5 field goals. 2.5 field goals.
This burnt me 2 weeks ago, but I am taking the under.
All right. And finally, Mike, the one that we dread here on this show, we may have started this curse. I don't know if we did.
You did. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky.
If you did, tar and feather Mike. I had nothing to do with it. Mike, the tough one, devastating injuries for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 1/2 of a devastating injury. You know what I'm talking about, guys that you don't want to lose, guys that are important to the team. Certainly, for example, Najee Harris. Mike, do we have a devastating injury this week? 1/2 is the number, over or under?
Under. Under, and it will be what Tomlin says, typical bumps and bruises for this juncture of the journey.
All right. And that's it. Yeah, exactly. It's football. It's second half of the
Yeah,
season. Everybody's
yeah.
bumped. Everybody's
Everyone's
bruised.
banged up, but there's going to be nothing devastating. It's going to be, you might hear all so and so's in a walking boot, and it's just, they'll be
Right.
ready to go.
A little trip to
Yep.
the blue tent, but that's it.
Oh yeah. Little
Um,
blue tent, get the little blue pill.
Let me get this one here real quick, Mike. Phil still says, "Don't forget, fellas, I lettered in checkers, lunch, tetherball, and spin the bottle." JV Phil B. Mike, let me knock out some of this other news. Then we're going to get into
Oh
the
shit!
question of the day. Start wrapping things up. It is getting to
Yeah,
that time. I can't believe how fast the show
God,
went.
going by.
Pittsburgh Penguins also play a Washington team this weekend. That's right. They do go down to Washington to play the Capitals. The Capitals are 9-3. That game is tonight at 7:30. Just coming off a loss to last night to the Hurricanes. Mike, the 10-2 Hurricanes put a hurting on the Penguins. They won 5-1 last night. The Penguins dropped to 5-8-2 overall. But again, back at it tonight against the Caps. Tomorrow, college football. The Pitt Panthers, sitting at number 18, gets their first chance to move up the charts, get back on track after the loss last week, their first loss of the season. Number 18 overall, sitting at 7-1. Tomorrow night, they host the Virginia. What are they? The Virginia. What are they, Mike? Why can I not think of it? Anyway,
Cavaliers or whatever. I don't know.
I think they're the Cavaliers.
Something
But
like
that's
that.
who we
That's
play
not weird.
tomorrow. Also, Mike, the Penn State Nittany Lions, it's sitting at number 6. They host Washington. That game is also at 8 o'clock tomorrow. The noon games of the local teams, Purdue at Ohio State, who's number 3 overall. That game's at noon tomorrow. In West Virginia, they travel to play Cincinnati. That is also a game at noon tomorrow. A couple other games between ranked teams. Number 11 versus number 14, Alabama versus LSU should be good, not because we like these teams, but because Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn will be the guest pickers for the predicting, they're going to be on the college game day. Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn, of course, the Pittsburgh Pirate rookie of the year. Him and his girlfriend are going to be going down, Mike, because they were LSU students, down to the Alabama LSU game. They're going to be guests on college game day, giving their predictions is what I was trying to say. Number 2, Georgia. They will be playing at number 16, Ole Miss. That should be another big game. Also, on Pitt, the basketball team is back in action tonight, Mike. They played the other night. They are going for their second win in a row against Murray State, who comes to the Pete tonight with a 1-0 record as well. That game starts at 7 p.m. And finally, high school football is big in the areas here in Western Pennsylvania. A couple games just worth noting. Right out of our county is Aliquippa, defensive back U. They are playing Thomas Jefferson in a huge game. Western Beaver has Steel Valley, Cornell, Fort Cherry, South Allegheny, Elwood City, Freeport, Central Valley. A lot of big games tonight. Only 2 weeks away from the Acrisure Stadium championship games for the high school teams here in Western PA. Mike, before we get into this trivia of the day, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about the website?
The2WInsers.com. Check it out, everyone, especially if you're new. Appreciate it. We got the merch store and we got the blog over there. Dumb User Thoughts. That's the name of the blog because they're my dumbass thoughts. So check it out at the2WInsers.com. And remember, if you're new to the site, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Appreciate it.
Let me get a couple of these, Mike, before we get into the trivia. I don't want to fall behind. Ryan burps like a Picasso painted. You know what? It's so funny about that. Remember the episode, Mike, where we painted that girl's boob? We painted her nipple. When I was painting it, I believe Mike compared me to Picasso in that episode too. If I'm remembering right, you said it was like a work of Picasso while I was painting a nipple. Anyway, besides the point, thank you. I work hard on that. John. I'm glad you enjoy. Also, 007 says, how about another Calvin Austin, the third punt return for a touchdown, over and under? I'm going to say under just because it's such a rare play in the NFL. But I love Terrell. I love Calvin Austin. I'm sorry. I think that he's capable of making plays at any given point of the game. He just has speed. He's a little guy. He kind of falls into the who's the dude for the Dolphins? Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
He leans in that area of a kind of a player. I like him. I think he's got plenty of potential. But again, I think that punt return, it's a hard thing to do. So
I
I'm
think
going
he's
to
going
go
to
under
get close. I think he's going to get close.
Brian also
he's
says,
stealing.
Forrest the Gump has 3 jokes and repeats them over and over, gets some new material. I'm wondering if he's talking about JV. Also, Brian says Livy Dunn has been watching football films, so she doesn't sound so dumb. Ty in South plays for Mohawk, a high school football team here. P says Cavaliers. Cavaliers, that's what they are.
Yeah.
Cavaliers, Virginia.
Yeah.
Cavaliers are one of the more useless classes. You know what? And that's the thing. How can you remember teams? I mean, it's the Texas A&M Aggies, the Oklahoma Sooners, the why, Mike? You can't remember Virginia. They're just so unmemorable, I guess. John, thank you, of course, my man. Thank you. And Phyllis Steele says, name caller put up a comment on the board, and Ryan and Mike go, huh? I put something on the board. And that mummy. All right. These two, Mike. I guess maybe the friendship isn't quite budding the way that we were.
Not there yet. But you know what? This is like it's going to be one of those buddy comedies at the end. They're going to go on a road trip together.
I like it. I like to get it all on film.
I
will react to every single moment of it. Here is the question of the day, guys. On this show, what we do, whoever the Steelers are playing that week, that is who we have trivia about this week, of course, is the Washington Commanders / the Washington Redskins. Again, keep that in mind because some of these questions could go back into the Redskin days and may be relevant. Here we go, guys. This is the question of the day, the trivia, if you will. Mike, put on your thinking cap. Guys on the board, people at home, here we go. Since the merger in 1970, which team holds the advantage in head-to-head games between the Steelers and the Redskins / Commanders? Since the merger in 1970, which team holds the advantage in head-to-head games between the Steelers and the Washington football team? Take a moment to think that over, guys. We're live 5 days a week right here, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every day right here on YouTube. All right, Mike, since the merger in 1970, which team holds the advantage in head-to-head games between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Washington football team?
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
All right. I'm on the corner of my eye. See Phil still agrees with you. He says the black and gold. Brian says it's a tie. And you want to stick with that, Mike? You want to stick with the Steelers?
I'm sticking with the Steelers.
All right. Let me lock you in place. You were locked in.
Lock it in.
Question, last Washington football team's question of the year, unless we face them in the Super Bowl. Here's the question. Since the merger in 1970, which team holds the advantage in head-to-head games between the Steelers and the Washington football team? Hey, how you doing, Yinzer Joe? Yinzer Joe says Steelers. P says Steelers, obviously. Washington had 5 good seasons. Guys, by a record of 8-4. One team has 8, the other team has 4. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have 8. You guys are correct. Steelers 8. Yinzer Joe said Steelers by 10 games. Close, but it was 8-4. The Steelers do hold the head-to-head. So hopefully we make it 9. Let's get to 9.
I hope so.
Let's get it to 9 this weekend. Mike, let me jump on a couple of these, and then we will get ready to wrap it up. It's making me chuckle. Just what I'm seeing, I'm not paying attention fully. But let me start with Pete. He says go on a road trip, and one of them will sell some steaks to Derpy after. Also, Brian says it's a tie. And then later on down the list, Phyllis still says who the fuck puts up a tie? WTF. So there you have it.
Oh my God,
Mike, anything before we start getting ready to wrap it up for the week?
Yeah. Marshawn Lattimore is out. I just saw it on Twitter, reported from I think it was one of the Washington reporters. So he's out. So we don't have to face Marshawn Lattimore. And on a hockey note, the Washington Capitals said if Sidney Crosby scores his 600th goal against them, they plan on having a celebration during the game.
Oh, so, that's classy. Exciting.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, the two franchises that have gone back and forth, battled forever.
Absolutely.
You like to see it.
Absolutely. Good for them. Good for him. And I hope he does it while he's in that city because,
I'll be
again,
great.
yeah, I think the Washington fans will give him a lot of respect as well, just because of
Yeah.
everything these two teams been through and the history between Ovechkin and Crosby. That would be pretty cool.
I would love to see him though do it to the Flyers and just skate around the rink and give them all the finger.
In Philly.
In Philly, that would be poetic justice.
But guys, yes, Jens or Joe, he is playing and he's excited, and the team is excited. They want to see him out there too. I want to see him out there. Everybody wants to see him out there. Pittsburgh Steelers, 1:00 on Sunday. Ravens didn't give us any help last night. They ended up winning the game against Cincinnati 35-34. Some other things going on this weekend. A lot of college football. If you're local here in Western Pennsylvania, Pitt plays Virginia. West Virginia plays Cincy. Ohio State plays Purdue, and Penn State plays Washington. Penguins back in action tonight. They are down in Washington. Speaking of Washington, down in the capital, that game is tonight at 7:30. A lot of high school playoffs, college Pitt basketball, a lot of things going on, but of course, none bigger than our Pittsburgh Steelers. 1:00 Sunday. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders will be welcoming the Pittsburgh Steelers to play. It's going to be a good game. We're right out of break. Got guys healthy. Got guys just traded in. People are chomping at the bit for this game. I'm excited. I can't wait. Hopefully get the win. 7-2 sounds really good, Mike.
I can't wait. If you get 7-2, like your chances to make the playoffs are, you're more or less guaranteed a spot at that point.
Yes, it would be really good. With the exception that year we were 11-0 and we somehow barely made the playoffs. But anyway, that's a whole different time.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. That was in the long ago. That was in the bad times.
Also, I do want to say thank you, everybody, for coming and watching and hanging out with us today. We appreciate each and every one of you. We really, really do. We wouldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Everybody on the board, thank you. You guys always keep things entertaining and interesting here on the show. I'll touch on two more right before we go off, but I just do want to say thank you so much to everybody. Mike, what about you? Anything before we roll?
I got nothing. I'm just dying at the comments from P and Mr. Steele.
P says Washington was almost good before they managed to send RG3 to the glue factory as soon as they could. Yeah, I mean, usually anything that goes to Washington ends up ruined, but they're doing something right now. So let's stay focused until this one's over on the Washington football team. Phil Steele, this might be the last one I take, guys. He says, peace, fellas, and whoever the fuck puts up a tie and watches The View, place to all at JV Phil / Forrest the Gump out. All right. I like it, guys. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Again, stay safe. Enjoy this game. Wave your towel in excess because they are making their own stupid towels. So we have to use the football gods, of course, to help us the way that the Steelers have done historically with our terrible towel. That's no secret. Everybody knows that. And so do so. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy everything that's going on. Come back Monday morning. We'll be back at our regular time to go over everything we talked about and get into depth details and hopefully about a Steeler win over Washington. Mike, anything else? Speak now or forever hold your peace, brother.
I got nothing. Everyone have a good weekend. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks for the kind words. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And all the newcomers on the board as well. Welcome. Thank you so much for everything. Guys, thank you for the kind words. As Mike said, have a great weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy the Steelers. Go Steelers. For Mike in the Steelers Central Mobile Studio, myself, the two dumb Yenzers. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.